You picture yourself stepping from a gleaming Gulf Stream, shades on, while a uniformed crew waits to whisk the next client to Aspen. But here's the dark secret nobody whispers at those yacht club launch parties. The average light jet sits completely idle, burning capital, for 7,305 hours every single year. A private jet charter company looks like the apex of luxury entrepreneurship. High net worth passengers, 5-figure invoices wired in advance, and aircraft that print money even while you sleep. At cocktail parties, "I own a jet fleet" sounds infinitely better than "I lease FedEx vans." Yet beneath the polished aluminum hides a balance sheet where deals actually die. Asset values that crater faster than a Lamborghini's, maintenance schedules enforced by federal law, pilots who can decamp overnight for an airline bonus, and insurance premiums that spike the moment a celebrity posts a cabin selfie. But here's what nobody tells you. The operators making serious money aren't the ones buying jets. By the end of this deep dive, you'll know exactly how many flight hours, surcharge clauses, and membership tiers it takes to transform millionaire toys into a viable business. Or whether you'd be richer buying fractional shares in someone else's hangar. And then there's the part about asset-light winners that breaks most people's assumptions. Industry overview. The $27 billion Mirage. The global business aviation market generated about $27 billion in charter revenue last year, with North America commanding nearly 60% of the pie. But that's not even the real problem. Roughly 6,800 Part 135 operators hold certificates from the Federal Aviation Administration. But the landscape is barbell-shaped in a way that quietly bleeds entrepreneurs dry. 4 megafirms, VistaJet, NetJets, FlexJet, Wheels Up, control 1/3 of total flight hours, while the remaining operators own 3 jets or fewer, fighting for table scraps. COVID turbocharged the segment. 2022 recorded the highest U.S. business jet departures in history as commercial airlines cut routes and wealthy travelers prized isolation. Although demand tapered 8% in 2023, overall hours remain 15% above 2019 levels. Unlike scheduled airlines, charter revenue per available seat mile regularly tops $5, thanks to bespoke itineraries and last-minute premiums that would make a luxury hotel blush. Wait, here's where it gets interesting. Still, the asset turnover is catastrophically low. The average light jet flew only 380 hours last year, far below the 1,500-hour utilization that airlines achieve, meaning every empty day burns capital like a bonfire made of $100 bills. You're not running an airline. You're babysitting a depreciating asset that spends 96% of its life parked. Demand, drivers, and market segments. The golden triangle nobody budgets for. Charter demand clusters in 3 verticals that behave like completely different species. First is corporate. C-suite teams hopping between regional plants where airline connections make same-day round trips impossible. This is where margins actually survive. Second is high net worth leisure. Think hedge fund families chasing ski season, or pop stars on concert tours who'll ghost you the moment a better deal surfaces. Third, and fastest growing, is medical and emergency logistics. Organs for transplant cannot wait for gate assignments, and these clients will pay anything when a 7-year-old needs a liver in 4 hours. Geography also matters in ways that will make you say, "Wait, what?" out loud. Florida, Texas, California forms the Golden Triangle, accounting for 42% of domestic charter legs. But seasonality swings are brutal enough to bankrupt the unprepared. Summer Europe hops and winter Rocky Mountain lifts leave autumn shoulder months so soft your jets collect dust while loan payments compound. Here's where nobody sees the twist coming. The best operators flatten the curve with jet card subscriptions that lock clients into prepaid hours usable anytime, converting lumpy trips into predictable cash flow. You're not selling flights, you're selling certainty wrapped in leather seats and champagne. Fleet acquisition and capital expenditure. This is where dreams actually die. A new mid-size Cessna Citation Latitude lists at $18 million, but no savvy charter operator buys at sticker. And yet, that's the least expensive part of your nightmare. Volume buyers negotiate 12 to 15% discounts. Even so, depreciation will erase 1/3 of book value within 5 years, vaporizing wealth faster than a tech stock in a bear market. Many startups therefore hunt on the pre-owned market. A 10-year-old Embraer Phenom 300 runs $6 million, half its original cost, yet still meets noise and avionics standards. You're buying someone else's depreciation curve, hoping the math works in your favor. Rule of thumb financing is 20% equity, 80% 5 to 7 year debt at 6.5% APR, which sounds reasonable until you realize the interest alone could fund a beach house. Add $400,000 for entry into service inspections, cabin refurbishment, Wi-Fi installation, and a custom paint stripe that matches the website aesthetic, because Instagram doesn't care about your balance sheet. But that's not even the part that breaks people. Next, secure a hangar slot, $12 to $16 per square foot annually in secondary airports. Double at Teterboro or Van Nuys, where the gatekeepers know you're desperate. And invest $120,000 in ground support equipment, tugs, GPU carts, de-icing gear that sits idle 11 months a year in Phoenix. By the time you ferry your first passenger, one light jet tail number has consumed about $2 million in equity and $80,000 in monthly loan payments. And that's before you insure a single seat or hire your first pilot who'll leave you in 18 months anyway. Operational cost structure. The $1.2 million treadmill fixed costs start with pilots, and this is the silent killer. The FAA demands 2 for turbine aircraft under charter. Competitive pay now sits near $140,000 per captain and $90,000 per first officer, plus benefits and recurrent training that costs $35,000 annually at Flight Safety. Because the government won't let you cut corners, even when your fleet sits grounded for a week. Maintenance follows strict inspection intervals. A checks every 200 flight hours, B checks at 400, that arrive with the inevitability of taxes. Budget $900 per flight hour for parts and labor, escalating as the airframe ages like a vintage car that hates you. Engine reserves add another $300 per hour into an escrow managed by Pratt & Whitney or Williams International to guarantee future overhauls. Money you spend now for problems you'll face in 5 years, assuming you survive that long. And then there's the wild card that keeps operators awake at night. Insurance is the expense where spreadsheets go to die. Hull and liability premiums soared 25% post-pandemic, averaging $70,000 per aircraft, but spike into the stratosphere if you carry professional athletes or heads of state. One NFL quarterback's Instagram story can cost you $20,000 in coverage adjustments. Landing fees, navigation charges, and overnight parking average $500 per segment, but vary wildly by airport class. Teterboro doesn't negotiate. Finally, administrative overhead. Charter sales staff, dispatchers, safety management software that crashes during peak booking season, eats $25,000 per month across a small fleet. Stack it all up, and your citation must fly roughly 600 billable hours a year just to avoid bleeding cash, before you earn $1 in actual profit. Revenue streams and pricing power. The deadhead problem nobody talks about charter pricing works on occupied hours, which sounds simple until you realize half your flying quietly hemorrhages money. A mid-size jet sells at $4,500 to $5,000 per flight hour, including fuel, crew, and catering. But empty reposition legs, those dreaded deadheads, earn nothing, and this is where most operators slowly die. Optimization becomes your obsession. Brokers scrape databases such as Avinode to fill seats both directions, shaving deadhead percentage below 20%, which adds 2 points to margin, the difference between breaking even and actually building wealth. Fuel surcharges flow straight through the invoice, like financial plumbing. When Jet A breaks $7 per gallon, the cost delta is passed to clients within 24 hours, protecting spread, while your competitors eat the loss and wonder why their margins vanished. Ancillary fees matter more than most entrepreneurs realize. Catering markups run 20%. Wi-Fi billed at $4 per megabyte can add $600 on a coast-to-coast hop if passengers binge Netflix at 41,000 feet. You're not selling bandwidth, you're taxing boredom. Here's the beautiful part. At cancellation penalties, often 50% of trip price inside 48 hours, convert no-shows into found money that prints itself. Companies with Jet Card memberships demand hefty prepayments, $100,000 for 25 hours, expiring in 18 months. Effectively, an interest-free loan from clients who think they're buying status. Historically, direct operating margin, after fuel and maintenance but before fixed overhead, hovers near 35%. Scale pushes charter EBITDA toward 15%, once you exceed 10 aircraft sharing the same sales and dispatch team. But most operators never reach 10 jets because the capital requirements break them first. Ancillary profit centers, the revenue streams hiding in plain sight. If passengers are willing to spend $25,000 on a 2-hour jaunt, they'll spring for extras without blinking. White glove ground transport arrangements earn referral fees from limousine partners who understand the game. Branded merchandise, monogrammed amenity kits, champagne collaborations with names you can't pronounce, builds lifestyle cachet and 60% margins on products that cost pennies to manufacture. Some operators sublease downtime to freight forwarders for high-value cargo, like microchips, squeezing revenue from red-eye slots when execs are sleeping and jets would otherwise sit dark. But here's the part nobody talks about in investor decks. Fleet management for third-party owners delivers a hidden jackpot that changes everything. Charge a 5% management fee on every charter dollar earned by someone else's jet, plus pass-through hangar and insurance at cost, while bearing zero capital risk. That asset-light layer can represent 25% of corporate profit while carrying minimal downside exposure. You're essentially running a casino where the house always wins, using someone else's chips. Risk factors. This is where the industry eats its young. Regulatory oversight under Part 135 is relentless in ways that will destroy your weekend plans forever. One paperwork lapse, an expired emergency equipment card, a missed pilot medical that should have been renewed Tuesday, and the FAA can ground your entire fleet overnight, torching $80,000 in booked trips while you beg bureaucrats for mercy.